Yes, we can.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yata Rishikesha Kalena Devaki Kamsena Rudati Chiram Sucharpita Mochita Hamcha Sahatmajam Bibo Tvayaiva Natena Mohur Vipadganat. O Rishikesha, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. Purport. Devaki, the mother of Krishna and sister of Kamsa, was put into prison along with her husband Vasudeva, because the envious king was afraid of being killed by Devaki's ace son Krishna. He killed all the sons of Devaki who were born before Krishna. But Krishna escaped the danger of child slaughter because he was transferred to the house of Nanda Maharaj. Lord Krishna's foster father Kunti Devi, along with her children, was also saved from the series of dangers. But Kunti Devi was shown far more favor because Lord Krishna did not save the other children of Devaki, whereas he saved the children of Kunti Devi. This was done because Devaki's husband Vasudeva was living, whereas Kunti Devi was a widow, and there was none to help her except Krishna. The conclusion is that Krishna endows more favor to a devotee who is in greater dangers. He puts his devotee in such dangers because in that condition of helplessness, the devotee becomes more attached to the Lord. More attachment is there for the Lord, more success there is for the devotee. And Chaksum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamina. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauramani Pachari Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Vastyatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhupe Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so there is a comparison here on how Krishna saved both Devaki and Kunti, but saving Devaki, he saved her and her husband. And the children were not saved. There's many reasons for that. Prabhupada just gives one, that Kunti Devi was a widow, whereas Devaki wasn't. That's one answer, but there are many other answers also, which support that answer also. Those children that are Devaki, they were formerly the sons of Hiranyakashipu. They're sons of Kalanemi, who was Hiranyakashipu in a different life. I'm sorry, he was Kamsa in a different life. And therefore Kamsa killed his own sons in that life. Those sons had offended Hiranyakashipu and they were cursed by him to die. So that was also there. And then later on, of course, Krishna brought those children back to Devaki. and gave her a chance to offer her breast milk to those children. And then those children, because that same breast milk that was given to those children was first given to Krishna when Krishna appeared. So therefore that was Krishna Prasad. So they got purified and ultimately got liberation. So there's an interesting background behind of those. But here we see interesting how the Lord will put his devotees into apparent dangers. Apparent means that it is dangerous, but the Lord is always there to give protection and save the devotee from the dangers, provided the devotee takes shelter of the Lord. And that's the whole purpose of allowing the devotees to be put into difficult situations so the devotee can call out for Krishna's help, Krishna's guidance, Krishna's protection. The material world is so constituted that no one can survive here, and everyone is constantly put into danger. Sometimes the dangers are not so prominent, but sometimes they are. But just in general, the principle of danger is that this material world is temporary, and it's fraught with birth, death, disease, and old age. And it works in such a way as defeat the attempts of the living entities to become happy here. And people are always in competition with one another, trying to enjoy the resources of the Lord. And so there's always fights amongst individuals, communities, nations. So on all levels, there's always dangers from other living entities. That's just the way the material world is constituted. It's like trying to be happy in the material world is like trying to be happy inside of a jail. Yesterday, we went to one program in one jail here in Slovenia, and we saw the inmates there. There were about 15 who came to the program. We did kirtan, gave a small lecture, and did some more kirtan. Well, we could see when they came in, they were quite morose looking, obviously being in jail. No one likes to be in jail. So how to become happy in jail, of course, means to become Krishna consciousness. That was our message. But this material world is what it is. It's a jail. It's meant to restrict the living entity's ability to enjoy, although that desire to enjoy is very prominent within the nature of the living entity. And therefore, but that restriction comes in the form of suffering that comes about when one tries to enjoy this material energy. So sometimes Krishna will put his devotee into a dangerous situation. He does it for great devotees and to glorify them. It's like Srila Prabhupada was put into a few dangerous situations. When he came over on the boat, he had 2 heart attacks. And then when he came after being here for 2 years, he had his 3rd one. But Krishna saved him from all 3, and he was able to continue on with his mission. He was attacked by a drug intoxicated hippie, and Krishna protected him from that. His tape recorder and his typewriter was stolen. So Prabhupada had to undergo some difficulty when he was trying to spread Krishna consciousness. But those difficulties are there. And being on the sea, Prabhupada talks about that for 39 days, how it's never a nice situation. He said being on the sea, he compared it to the material world, that sometimes the material world looks nice and sometimes it doesn't. But in any case, there's always dangers. He used the analogy, not analogy, he used the experience that when the sea is calm, there's fog. And when the sea is not calm, then there's always dangers that the boat will overturn. So in any case, this is the material world. But a devotee, the quality of a devotee, he doesn't forget Krishna. Yena Kena Prakarena Mana Krishna Nivesaya. This verse spoken by Srila Rupa Goswami from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is the foundation. It says, somehow or other, whatever situation you are in, remember Krishna. When things are going apparently good, we have a tendency to forget Krishna. But when things go difficult, we run into obstacles, and sometimes we run into severe obstacles, we generally call out for Krishna's help. And that's natural, as they say. There's an old saying in the war, there's no atheists in the foxholes. Foxholes means those holes in the ground that the soldiers used to dig in order to get in and fight from that position. So yeah, it's a dangerous position in the material world. But we should always remember that at any moment, everything could be changed, and what is apparently nice will be something different. So a devotee knows, padam padam yavi padam, that this material world is dangerous. And therefore, the devotee is always careful to keep their consciousness focused on the lotus feet of the Lord, and remember the Lord in devotion. That is the success of spiritual life, and that is the protection from all calamities and all dangers. Queen Kunti, you'll see in two verses coming up, I believe it's verse 25, she will really express her desire to become Krishna conscious in the most amazing way. And so in that sense, she's actually welcoming difficulties. Here, she's thanking Krishna for saving her sons in the difficult situation. The Pandavas were put into a house of lack. In fact, they even knew about it. Vidura warned them, saying, this is the plan of Dhritarashtra. He's going to give you a place to live, and it appears to be some nice place, but the plan is that it's coated with this very highly flammable material. And once you go in there, they'll set it on fire. But the Pandavas went anyway. And when they were there, of course, they dug a tunnel, and that tunnel led underground and then out. And so they were able to escape the fire through that tunnel. And so there was another time with the poison cake, when Bhima was given a cake that was filled with poison. And so Krishna saved them from that situation. When Hidimba, the powerful Rakshasa, came to attack the Pandavas, Bhima came forward and defeated him and killed him, and then wind up marrying his sister, Hidimbi. So in so many ways, there was calamity after calamity that the Pandavas, they had to live in the forest for 14 years. 13 years, 13 years in the forest. 12 years, they could live wherever they wanted in the forest. And on the 13th year, they had to live in incognito somewhere. And they took shelter of the kingdom of Virat. And they all took up different services in King Virat's kingdom, and they hid there. But the plan was that, or the deal was, if they were discovered during that 13th year, they would have to spend another 13 years in the forest. So what the Pandavas had to go through, and actually we see in the prayers of Bhishma Dev, when Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows during this last moment, speaking great philosophical knowledge to Krishna, Arjuna, and the entire many of great souls who came. Vyasadeva came, Narada Muni came. Bhishma Dev was crying, not from himself, but he was crying how loyal the Pandavas were to Krishna and how close they were in devotion to Krishna. And yet they were put into so many difficulties, even so severe. And then, of course, Draupadi in the when she was they had a gambling match. There was a gambling match between the Yudhisthira and the Kurus. And Yudhisthira liked to gamble, but he wasn't so good at it. And so they cheated him with loaded dice given by Shakuni. And the Pandavas lost everything, including the possession of their wife, Draupadi. Now Draupadi became the possession of the Kurus. Now slipped my mind right now. I'll get it. Names. Just give me a second here. I'll think of who I'm trying to think of. My mind cannot remember that person. Dushasana and who was that other person?
Duryodhan, Guru Maharaj?
No.
Karna?
Karna, that's it, Karna. Now, Karna had a grudge against Draupadi because when Draupadi was performing her Swayamvara ceremony, many of the great archers came to compete to see who would be the winner, and the winner would have Draupadi as their wife. So Arjuna was there, and many other warriors were there, but Karna, he also came for the competition. Now Draupadi knew that if Karna came, Arjuna wouldn't have a chance. She knew that. So what she said to the organizers of the match, she said, well, Karna, he's a carpenter, and this match is for Kshatriyas only, and therefore he should not be allowed to participate. And so he was restricted. He wasn't allowed to participate. So Karna became very angry at Draupadi because of that, and he had a grudge against her. So when they won Draupadi in the bet, they immediately tried to embarrass her in front of everyone by trying to disrobe her. And with the help of Dushasana, both of these warriors started to grab her sari and pull it. And she, she's just this lady against these two powerful warriors. The Pandavas did nothing. Nobody did anything. And they're trying to disrobe her. Now, for a chaste woman, this is worse than death. But she somehow or other remembered Krishna. But how she remembered Krishna was very interesting, because she was remembering Krishna and calling to Krishna, but on the other hand, she was trying to hold on to her sari. And Krishna was in Dwarka at the time with Rukmini. He had gone on a little break there, and Rukmini said to him, hey, your devotee, Draupadi, she's calling out for you. you should go help her. He said, Krishna said, let's play another game of dice. She's still holding on with one hand. So this was quite instructive. Only when she threw up both arms and said, Krishna, Krishna, save me, Mahabaho, O Govinda, O Govinda, O Govinda. Only then did Krishna come, and he incarnated as in unlimited sari. And they were pulling and pulling and pulling, and the sari was coming off, but she remained fully clothed. The sari just piled up onto the floor like a mountain. And then after a while they gave up. They realized this was the protection given by the Lord, and she was not embarrassed. And the example of her holding on with one hand is interesting, because when we try to get Krishna's mercy, we also make our own plans to help. But when we just throw our hands up in the air and say, I can't do it, only you can do it. Just recently, a good friend of mine, he wanted to start this project in ISKCON, which would be beneficial for all the devotees. And so he worked at it for months and months and months. And he was working at it and working at it, but it was getting stuck. It wasn't working. Somehow or other, he was putting things in place, and the response was not so good. And so after trying in so many different ways, he told me this personally. He said, one night I just said, my dear Lord, if you want it to happen, it will happen. I can't do anything. This is my desire, but it's up to you. And then he told me the next morning, everything changed. Everything changed. People started to respond. Things started to click in place. And the project was not only off the ground, it was practically completed. So yeah, when we throw up our hands and we say, my dear Lord, just like it says that one cannot chant attentively the Hare Krishna Mahamantra unless one feelingly and with great attention prays to the Lord, prays to the Lord's pure devotees, especially Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Haridas Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, my dear Lord, my dear devotee, I can't chant the holy names of the Lord. I have no ability. But please show mercy for today, and please give me just a small drop of your faith, the faith that I need to overcome my inability to chant. So there are many ways we can make that prayer, but the essence of the prayer is, without praying for attentive chanting, no one can chant attentively. And that's an absolute principle. We should always consider that seriously when we begin our japa every day. And even during japa, we can also pray like that. So this is Krishna. The living entity is proud. The living entity has this tendency to think, I can do it. I know how to do it. I did it before, I'll do it again. But that is not Krishna consciousness, that is simply false pride. Krishna consciousness is, my dear Lord, I'm going to try my best, but only by your mercy will it become successful. So a devotee always depends on the Lord in each and every situation, both in the planning and in the activity and in the completion. Everything centers around remembering Krishna, praying to Krishna. It says a devotee gets great satisfaction in mind when they remember Krishna, and the devotee feels distressed and unhappy when he realizes he's not remembering Krishna. Okay, so yeah, so Queen Kunti is giving us some really deep understandings of the process of bhakti. Bhakti needs to be explored more and more. And the essence of bhakti, it's not about doing so much service, it's about depending on Krishna, praying to Krishna, and working for Krishna in order to please Krishna. Our success is not in quantity, but in the quality we offer our service in. Quantity also is nice and it's also desirable, but the quality, our attention, our desire to please the Lord, our desire to please the devotees, this makes Krishna consciousness successful. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. It was wonderful talk. Very nice. And this always has been questioned that, why Devki's son were not saved, but Kunti's sons were saved. So this verse clearly defines that, why, because she was helpless. And you give a very nice example of Draupadi as well. When she left it completely, she surrendered completely on Krishna, then Krishna came to save her. So yeah, we should always remember him, and he will come and help us. And for chanting as well, we should always pray. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. So devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please unmute yourself, keep your cameras on, and you can type in the chat box if you have any questions, and I'll read it for you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, Nandini Mataji, go ahead.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisances to you, Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Maharaj.
Nandini, Hare
thank you.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Jai Ho.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Jai Ho, Maharaj. Waiting, Mata Maharaj, eagerly excited for you to come.
I'm counting the minutes.
Maharaj, it was such an enlightening class today. Oh, I wish I could just log off work and just sit and chant. But anyways, so Maharaj, I just have a question. You said that because Draupadi was holding on and Krishna then waited. So does that mean that we don't, like, if we are in a problem, we just, cry out to Krishna? Or does that mean we still do, our karma, or not a karma, we still do our deeds? Like, I'm a bit confused between the two.
Our problem is we don't remember Krishna. That's the problem. Whatever we're doing, but if we're chanting Hare Krishna, obviously we're remembering Krishna. But so just attentively chanting is remembering Krishna, and that is chanting. But we have to always remember it's only by the mercy of the Lord that we can actually chant attentively. So it's nice to offer prayers either before or during japa to help us to awaken that we are really dependent on his mercy in all cases. Draupadi's problem was she thought she could save herself, at least try to save herself. But Krishna made the point. She wasn't fully surrendered. So that example is there to teach us that, we surrender when things get difficult. But when things are not difficult, we don't need Krishna. He's just the security guard when things get rough. But that means he's part-time. So to be Krishna conscious means to be always connecting with Krishna in some way or other.
So Maharaj, if we are in any trouble or, if we are in a problem, does that still mean that we still do our bits but at the same time have full faith in Krishna?
We're always in trouble. What do you mean? When we get in trouble, it's happening 24/7. We don't even know what's going. We don't even know what's going on in our body. But there's some little germ is there, and he's multiplying, and then the diagnosis is given. You know, so
Yes, Maharaj.
material world is a dangerous place. We're always in difficult. So to forget Krishna is the greatest form of illusion. Try not to forget Krishna. So it says that one should organize their life in such a way that they can always remember Krishna.
Yes,
Or
Maharaj.
if we're doing a particular service, we should be conscious that this service is being offered to the Lord and to his devotees. That's also Krishna consciousness. So this idea, when we're in trouble, we're always in trouble. And you don't know.
Or perhaps sometimes bigger trouble, or sometimes, yes, Maharaj.
We don't even know what's going to happen next. All of a sudden, it's a nice summer afternoon, and you're sitting and relaxing and enjoying some lemonade and talking to your friends, and all of a sudden, a bee comes along and stings you. So, you know, it's the material world's like that. Everyone thinks, oh, summertime is such a nice time of the year, but summertime has so many problems too. More car accidents in summertime, more people, more people commit crimes in summertime. So there's never a nice time or a safe time in this world. We go to sleep at night, we don't even know if we're gonna wake up. Yeah, it's like that. I don't want to scare you, but this is a reality.
Yes, Maharaj.
So therefore we say prayers before we go to sleep. If we wake up in the middle of the night, we pray again. So always remember Krishna. And that will help us to become more attached to Krishna. Becoming more attached to Krishna means we become free from everything in this material world. I think there's one verse that's coming up. It's called a Kinchana Gochara. Queen Kunti speaks this particular thing. A Kinchana, one who has one who has nothing but Krishna. Only Krishna. We'll get to that verse. That's quite a nice one.
Definitely, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj, for answering
Thank
my
you.
question. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Thank you, Nandini. I look forward to meeting you and the family again.
Definitely, Maharaj. Waiting, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Nandini Mataji. Yes, Sukhava Mataji, you can go ahead next.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you, Lotus Feet. Guru Maharaj, I have a question in regards to the Draupadi's incident as well. So normally in that sort of a scenario, everyone will try to save themselves. And if you don't, it's like common thing, isn't it? Okay, the Krishna, she has to surrender to Krishna, but like saving herself was not wrong thing, was it?
No. No, what Krishna was teaching, that full surrender means full protection. I mean, if we're in a dangerous situation, we should react accordingly, but we should not forget Krishna and think we can somehow rectify the situation by our own intelligence, by our own efforts.
Mm. So is it like Draupadi's surrender before the incident was not enough, and that's why she has to go through this, or is it only that time her surrender was not complete?
There's something in that particular Leela that she did something to have to go through this. I forgot what it was. It's in the Shastras. But nothing happens by accident.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I did something the other day, a few days ago, and it caused some distress to some person. And the person was a little child, but it caused some distress. And then the next day I got stung by a mosquito. And wow, it was like intense. The pain was really intense. And immediately I thought, why did this happen? And as soon as I thought like that, Krishna reminded me what I did to that little kid. It came into my mind exactly the same time. So we're responsible for everything we do. I mean, for a devotee, Krishna will minimize it. But still, we can't act independent and expect that there will be no reactions. I was just playing with the kid, but he didn't like it, so. The fact that he didn't like it was, I got a reaction. So.
Very, very powerful reaction immediately.
Well, that was a mosquito bite that I mean, that was intense. It was like worse than anyone I can remember. And it lasted so long too.
Oh dear.
But then but as soon as I remembered why it happened, then I was able to accept it as special mercy.
So Guru Maharaj, what shall we do in that, like if we are in that troublesome situation?
Never cause distress to any living entities, either body, mind, or words. That's one of the principles of a devotee. Never causes distress to anyone, either body, minds, or words.
Okay. But still we can suffer from our previous karmas, isn't it, Guru Maharaj?
When you become a devotee, you get a token reaction of the karmas that you are. And after some time, it'll completely stop.
Oh, right, okay. So it's only now we should be very careful how we react, isn't it?
Well, always. Not just now, always.
Yeah.
But when we join, the spiritual master accepts our karma. But then Krishna leaves what is called prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is a little residual karma. So you can somehow or other conquer over these attachments that come by way of your previous karma. And that will stop after some time. And then you'll be free from all karma. And then anything that happens to you that apparently is well, we say some kind of punishment or some kind of difficulty is simply given by Krishna directly.
To purify us. Isn't it?
To teach us something.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sukhawa Mataji. Sudha Mataji, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. So, Guru Maharaj, my question is like about service. Guru Maharaj, you mentioned like pleasing Krishna. Not about, it's about more like quantity, not it's more about quality, not quantity. So just like could you please a little bit enlighten us, like service, when we are doing any service, definitely I'm at a neophyte, might be I'm doing like a more like a fruitive thing, but how can we improve our service and what we should look when we want to do any quality service to please Krishna, to please devotees? What is the main criteria that we should look?
Well, is this service in line with the instructions of the spiritual master? One thing you should look for. The second thing is that I should do it with attention and with as much devotion as I can. And that attention means I should do it in the nicest or in the most pleasing way. Because it's an offering.
Okay. Okay, very much. So when we do any service, we have to align our thoughts with our spiritual master instructions and.
Well, you should just examine to see if this service that I'm doing is in line with the instructions of the spiritual master. Which is, that's why we have these programs. That's why we encourage devotees to read the books, because in the books, the instructions are there. In the discussions, the instructions come out.
Yeah. Okay, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha Mataji. Yes, Namrata Mataji, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila. Guru Maharaj, sometimes when we are trying to be as devotees, we are trying to tolerate people. We control over, our harsh reactions, and even if others are, hard to us or rough to us. So it happens that we react in the mind and not practically. So what damage such reactions can cause when we react in the mind?
Well, that's mentioned in the Bhagavatam in the first canto, 18th chapter, verse number 8. You can read it in the purport. And explains that any negative thoughts or feelings that arise are not given any reactions to it. This is a special feature of Kali Yuga. And any good thoughts and feelings that arise in the mind in devotional life, you get credit for. So you don't get credit for the negative. You don't get punished for the negative. You get credit for. That's because this age of Kali is so much fraught with bad qualities that if people were to be responsible to what they think, they would get so much sinful reactions that they would be unable to function. So yeah, that's a special concession, and that's mentioned in that verse But the thing is, you don't want to keep these things in the mind because they can grow, and they grow, and they can also turn into speech or some kind of reaction. The idea is when they come into the mind, the idea is to replace them with something spiritual. Remember Krishna? Start chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So the idea is don't allow the thought to stay there, push it out. And there's no reaction for that.
So basically, we should not allow that thought or that reaction to get piled up.
Right. Yeah. It'll make you unhappy, even if you don't say anything. Or it'll make you somewhat revengeful, even if you don't say anything. It's not good, but the antidote is Krishna consciousness.
So, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. When I first joined the Krishna conscious movement, I was working with one very, strong bhakta leader. He was my bhakta leader. And he would always tell the devotees, and I remember he told me a few times, he said, kill that thought or it will kill you. So the thought won't kill you, but if it remains, it'll grow. Always keep good thoughts in your mind, Krishna conscious thoughts, and then you're always happy. Negativity, it has a tendency to expand itself into something ugly, either through words or through a consciousness that causes us unhappiness or distressfulness. That's why a devotee can forgive someone if they act in the wrong way. It's almost like a parent forgiving their child for being a naughty child. The parent doesn't get vengeful towards the child. He just says, oh, okay. Well, don't do that anymore. Or some correction is given, but the parent doesn't think, well, the child did this, I'm going to do something to the child. No, if any punishment is necessary, it's for the benefit of the child. So in the same way, we can see that people are not able to understand Krishna consciousness, may not appreciate what we're trying to do, or maybe we're not able to express what we want to say in a way that they can understand. So there may be some negativity that arises because of that. But I'll try to overshadow that and keep it back, keep it under control.
So, Guru Maharaj, one must understand that for oneself also, not for others.
Your voice is not
secondary.
clear, Namrata Mataji. If you can come closer to the mic.
Is it audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's fine. Thank you.
So, so for one own self, it is more necessary to, rectify your root cause.
Yeah, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati gives a very strong statement. He says, when other people cause you disturbance, look inside yourself and see what it is about yourself that is causing you to become disturbed. That's powerful. I mean, it's hard, but it's actually the essence of this whole point.
Thank you. That was powerful. indeed possible.
Yeah, I can even, yeah, the Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati writes that. When the activities of others disturb you, look inside yourself and see what is it about yourself that is causing yourself to become disturbed.
It forces you every time to dive within your own.
Can't hear you, Mataji. No.
I think you lost your audio altogether.
Yes. Not yet. Did you change your position or your mic?
No.
Okay, by the
It
time
is-
Namrata Mataji is resolving the mic, there is a question from Rishabh, not question, maybe comment from Rishabh Prabhu. And that Hare Krishna, dear Gurudev, oops, sorry. And that is absolutely true. We react on the world based on our inner conception of life.
What did he say?
He's saying that, you gave the comment of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he's saying that is absolutely true. We react on the world based on our inner conception of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Or our conception of life, whether it's inner or outer, it doesn't matter. It's our conception.
And Namrata Mataji is saying, no problem, I got the essence. So I think. Thank you, Namrata Mataji. Is there any other questions? We still have time, so Guru Maharaj can take a few more questions if possible.
Okay, we'll continue with Queen Kunti tomorrow. And Thursday, we move into with the devotees from Harrisburg. And Friday, I will be traveling, so I will not be available on Friday. I'll be available on Saturday and Sunday also.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
So no, I won't be available Friday. That's all. Anyway, thank you very much, and read these prayers. They are deep in the understanding of bhakti, and you have to understand Queen Kunti is she's Krishna's aunt, and she's in a superior position in the social environment, but she understands the relationship with Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
These prayers are pretty much some of the best prayers in the Bhagavatam. Her prayers by Prahlad Maharaj are really, really deep in bhakti.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.